We are streaming. We are going live. Hello, friends and brothers. Welcome. We have a inner circle chat going on this evening. Anyone that's in the inner circle, you have a link on the Facebook group and also on the members only section of YouTube. So either one of those you can go to, click the link if you want to join in on the chat. But of course, Dennis and I will join in. But this is really about y'all this evening. This is an opportunity to give y'all to come together and discuss really whatever's on your mind. We wanted to just kind of facilitate and give y'all an opportunity to be in the driver's seat.
Absolutely. And I'd like to just jump in there and say, welcome, Gordon, our newest member and joining us tonight. So happy that you're here. And we have others that are going to come on. They tend to come on in spurts. And then at one point, we will probably have many people on here. But then as people get tired, then they'll go back to bed. Or they'll go to bed. So welcome for your first time. I'm excited to have you here. We need a little bit of reason in our lives.
It's kind of like one of those old wrestling where the old WWF where you'll have they'll tag each other. So someone will come in for a while and they'll talk, and then it's bedtime, whatever. And then they'll tag someone else and they'll come in. So it's a revolving door, but it's awesome. I saw David Bendel show up. That's pretty awesome. Good to have you, David.
Nice. Welcome.
Here comes Trenton. He's popping in too.
So if y'all have anything y'all want to just go ahead and start talking about, any of y'all are welcome to at any time. Wherever the conversation goes, just if there's something on your mind, then say it. If you're concerned about saying something that may that you think might bring too much attention to yourself, feel free to share it in the chat, and I'll be happy to say it myself, because as you know, I've got a rather large mouth and I'm not afraid to use it.
You probably have a big target on your back too.
No,
I probably already do, but I am my brother's keeper, and this is about you guys. So what are on you guys' mind? There's been quite a bit of tea that's been spilled this past weekend.
I want to welcome real quick. We got so the username's 8 football, 6 volleyball, 7 basketball, and they just became a supporter. So welcome, glad to have you.
That sounds like Josh.
You know, I want to say something just to start with, and that is that, you know, I'm 75 years old, so I've been around for a while, and I just think it's important for everybody to understand that the changes that are desired by a lot of people right now in the Grand Lodge are not just something that's desired by young Masons. I mean, there's a significant number of us older guys who feel exactly the same way. Mm-hmm. You know, I joined Freemasonry for the same reasons that a lot of the younger guys that are joining now are joining. And I was a little disappointed when I first got into the picture, and kind of did some traveling like you, Dennis, and got involved in some other bodies, and just sort of fleshed out my experience, and just made it work for me. Mm-hmm. But I do find the leadership is rather distressing in this particular Grand Lodge, and I certainly hope that next couple of weeks is going to be the beginning of a change.
It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be either changes are going to happen that need to happen, or my Masonic career in Texas is over. I'm going on a list somewhere, and I'm sure some of the rest of us will.
Don't be talking all that garbage, because you don't know what's going to happen yet.
That's what I'm saying. If things don't go well. But yeah, you're right. We don't know what's really going to happen.
Right. And we really don't know if people are going to come after us, right? So, I mean, I know that there have been some thoughts on it, but at the same time, there's also been some reconsiderations as well. So, who knows? Anybody else? Dave, did you have something?
Sure, why not? So I was thinking about this last night of who would make a good candidate for Grandmaster at this point. And I'm thinking specifically at this point in time that
Right out of the box, man. Golly. I'm just kidding.
well, I'm not going to drop any names tonight. I'm not going to drop
No,
any
no,
names
no.
tonight. I'm talking about qualitatively what we need.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think we need a man who can inspire. We need that every year, but this year in particular, and this probably ought to be every year, but this year in particular, we really need someone who is beyond reproach when it comes to ethical leadership. I think we also need somebody who is probably independently wealthy, because I foresee a lot of lawfare ensuing over the next few years.
Yeah.
And it needs to be somebody who is morally beyond reproach, who is an inspiring Masonic leader, and who can weather the storm of whatever legal battles are going to be fought. So those are my thoughts.
I would also add that I agree with you. I would also suggest, and we talked about this a little bit on our live, they need to be somebody that, and granted, it's not their decision to make, but they need to be somebody that is willing to sit in that seat for longer a period than 1 year, because you cannot enact the changes and see them to fruition within the span of 1 year, especially if you can't guarantee the succession of it. But I agree wholeheartedly with you.
Well, with what's going on in the background, though, I can tell you that it's not just one seat that everybody's looking at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that everybody is in hopes of having people with the same goal in mind, and with let's say 1 and 2 have to be done, right? If 1 and 2 are decided to be placed in the line, there is so much catch up that has to be done before the day after installation, that they have to work together, and it's going to take a huge team to work together, and it's not going to be like it's really ever been before, to where some guy just has his idea of Freemasonry and that's what's going to happen. This is going to be a collective that happens because it's going to take so many people to make this beast happen, if it's going to happen.
Yeah,
I truly believe that. So if it happens the way that people are hoping that it does, then it's already going to require a bigger picture thinking that hasn't been there in a long time.
yeah.
And so we're going to have that secession goal setting anyways.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of plans that have been made.
I really think so.
Under the assumptions of tradition, right? And that means you got people that are planning to assume offices and things like that are appointed. And if it did happen, like Dave, like you guys are saying, that would not happen all of a sudden. Like if someone was planning on being a district deputy, and suddenly the person they're planning on serving isn't Grand Master anymore, he may have different ideas, right? And so, but it involves everybody coming together and saying, okay, look, this is going to have to. It's like you're almost starting over, because a lot of the plans, a lot of things that were being assumed for an entire year are not going to happen. So you have to be willing to, hey, we have to come together, regardless of how we feel about the changes, and move forward.
Right. Y'all can talk.
Oh yeah.
We don't
yeah.
need to talk as
Yeah.
much as we normally do.
No, definitely. Well, I'm still gonna give feedback. It's awfully quiet in chat tonight too. Oh, David
Well, on a
lost.
separate topic, for being my first grand communication that I'm gonna be going to, I'm excited to meet you all out there and spend some quality fellowship with y'all.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Absolutely. All the way from the valley. Talk about a journey to get to grand communication. I mean, that's awesome. I'm excited to have you there.
Yeah, I'm
and this
taking
year's
my
gonna be-
wife and my sister-in-law with me, so they'll be out there with me. my entourage.
Very nice.
Yeah, nice. That is awesome. David Lawson says, "What happens to the incoming DDGMs if the Grandmaster's office changes people?"
What happens to the incoming? So here's one theory. One theory would be that we have to remember that David Bendel's pretty correct there, that really it depends on whoever the grandmaster is. That's his decision.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, what some of the theories have been that all of these guys have already been they've gone through some training for DDGM. There's aprons that are ordered, there's cases that are ordered, there's different things that are ordered. So some brothers will serve the office well no matter who goes in. That's what I have told people, that when you're DDGM, you really are serving your district.
Mm-hmm.
And you're really trying to be the Grandmaster's representative that will inspire and motivate and be the biggest cheerleader for the district. So really, if you've got a brother like that, do you really want to take him out of his seat, or just tell him, hey, if you're good with this, if you want to serve this Grandmaster, serve this Grandmaster. You've already got it all down. If not, then, man, set your apron aside and we can give it to another brother. We can certainly do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one theory.
Yeah, that's a good theory.
Well, I know a couple of DDGMs now who are absolutely outstanding, and they are not happy with the current, Grandmaster at all, and have not been. But they do an exceptionally good job. And so I suspect that, there will be a few that'll be handpicked and maybe have to be sorted through, if there is a new Grandmaster. But
right,
in all likelihood, there's probably going to be a lot of quality people who have been chosen who will do a good job no matter who the Grandmaster is.
That's true.
I have to believe the same. I believe that our brothers are much better than what our leadership is representing right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Jason, you were going to say something earlier.
Yeah. So, I've obviously, like most everybody else, been watching what's been happening, on Texas Freemasons, and watching the progression of Roberto's teas. I mean, the very first one started out with just like, somebody trying to shut down a lecture. And you're kind of like, yeah, geez, that's, kind of a ridiculous thing to do, and it kind of shows cronyism and stuff like that. But as I've been watching it, it's like it and I'm pretty sure it's not, it's not unintentional, is that it seems to be progressively worse. And now we've kind of crossed into the line of no longer unmasonic behavior, but now illegal behavior and stuff that can open up the Grand Lodge of Texas to all sorts of liability and stuff like that. So it's it's one thing to look at it and go, yeah, really we shouldn't be doing this, and this is stuff that we really need to take care of in house. And now all of a sudden you're walking into where now it has real world consequences, like, and having so it's just, you start realizing that your duties to your lodge don't end at the door. Like, there are real world consequences when you start messing around with lodge finances and investments and all that kind of stuff. And it's good to see that it's not just some guy throwing out accusations, that there is evidence behind it. And And as much as, and I've heard it from several that what they don't like to see is that it's all being played out on Facebook, and it's like, well, yeah, I understand, I I get it, but at the same time, how else would we know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big difference is that a lot of this stuff in the past would have just stayed hidden in the shadows, and a few would know about it and they'd be able to cover it up. But um, hate it or love it, social media is sometimes a great sanitizer that brings everything out to light and everybody knows about it. So um, yeah, that's kind of my thought is that now we're starting to get into um, some real world consequences of of the things that have been happening.
Well, shady business happens in the dark, right? And so
Yeah.
it can't operate in the light, and that's what the internet's doing. It's bringing light, and the deal is you have people that are treating secrets like currency, like treating dirt on people like currency. And so if you take those secrets and you bring them to light, you suddenly that it has no value. Like you can't hold that against somebody. You can't blackmail or whatever people might do with that. And so it really weakens the ability of people that use that on a regular basis to do harmful things. Welcome, Penguin. Welcome, Austin Berry, to the membership programs. Thank y'all for coming. Glad to have y'all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's just my thought. Like, I think things got to where they were because of people doing things in secret for a long time. And if you don't, like, I agree, it's not pretty. Posting it all on Facebook, spilling the tea, it's not pretty, right? But, and some people might say it's not Masonic. I don't think it's not. I don't think it's unmasonic. I think it's necessary. And I think sometimes
Free speech is as Masonic as it gets.
Exactly. And sometimes you have to be willing to get your hands a little bit dirty. You know, the what's the saying? You have to spill in your hands and hoist that black flag sometimes. And it's not pretty, but you have to clean house. And it never goes. It's never a smooth transition. And I think that's what we're looking at right now.
Well, I think the issue that we have is that we don't have a safe place to be able to do this, right? We have the perfect platform with our app. That's the perfect place that we could have these conversations as a closed group and get the things out that we want to get out. But if we do it on our app, we're in trouble. And it's going to be known that we will immediately get the backlash. But on social media, this is a private page that Grand Lodge cannot take control of. They cannot delete content. They cannot push their own propaganda. They can't do, they cannot manage this. So I would love it if our Grand Lodge app would allow us to have these kind of discussions there, but we just don't have that kind of transparency available within our Grand Lodge system right now.
Yeah.
Is it something we should look at? Absolutely. But is it something we have? Absolutely not.
I think there's a lot of value in being able to keep it separate. Me personally.
Well, now there is. I don't think there would be if we managed it properly. If it was managed by the West and not by a couple of brothers in the East.
The charter dinner. Adam, what charter dinner are you talking about in Waco? So there's a charter dinner. By the way, if y'all haven't emailed Dennis.
He's talking about our dinner.
Charter dinner? Okay. All right. Well, if y'all haven't emailed Dennis,
it's not a charter dinner, but I bet you that's what he's talking about.
Okay. I kind of thought maybe it was, but yeah, it's definitely not charter or anything like that. It's just inner circle. So okay. Adam says the email was sent out.
It's just a. Well,
yeah. I mean, we're not chartering anything.
I see where your priorities are. I mean,
oh God,
this is
he
far
says St.
from
Albans.
just
St. Albans.
So, very cool.
Very cool. So
they have a dinner as well.
That's smart. I like that. Taking you out, making your.
So does Perfect Union.
Man, all the nice restaurants are going to be full that weekend. Well, hopefully
gonna
we'll
be
see y'all
busy,
also at the Inner Circle dinner.
What were you saying, Gordon?
I was going to say that's a busy night, and I sent you an email about that dinner too. I don't know whether you got it or not, but I'd like to.
Yes, I yes,
I'd like.
sir. I'm going to get you an invitation with everybody else. I was given a couple more days to get people rolling in because you know how Masons are. We like to wait till the last minute.
Well, that whole evening sounds like it's going to be just chock full of really worthwhile experiences. I just
Oh
hope I
yeah.
can stay up for all of them.
I
It's
know.
pretty late.
There's not enough
Me
time
too.
in those 3 days to really get everything, to attend everything. It's just going to be so compact.
But that evening's going to be really good. I mean, visiting with Justin and Rick first thing at the courtesy suite, and then coming over for our dinner, and then going to see Roberto's presentation, and then heading back to the courtesy suite. I mean, it's going to be a really awesome night of fellowship. It
Yeah.
really will be.
Adam, the Masonic Improvement Dinner is going to be that Thursday. We'll start getting. It'll be at Diamondbacks. We'll start getting there around 6:30.
Yeah, I sent an email about the dinner and I got a new phone who dis message back.
What?
It sounds
I'm
like.
just I'm just kidding.
It sounds like Dennis something Dennis would do.
That's my
Justin,
burner phone, man.
you mentioned the word time, and I think that's a significant word with this whole experience. We're hoping that there's going to be a significant showing of a desire for some very real change that's going to occur at this communication. But whatever happens, we're looking probably at a number of years for this to finally play out in its fullness, because what has been happening the way it is now has been going on for decades.
Hmm.
And I just hope that everybody doesn't get so excited they're expecting spectacular changes to occur instantaneously at the communication, because in all likelihood that probably isn't going to happen.
No.
It would be nice to get it started, but I don't know whether it's all going to happen on
I,
that couple of days.
I think a great analogy would be to look at like the Blue Lodge, because we're all very familiar with that, and I think everything is similar from a top-down perspective. And so where I'm going with this is, if you have a really good year with a great worship master, it takes several years to really get good programs, get good practices built up and where they need to be, right? So it takes good leadership over a period of time. Say you have 10 really strong years, and then you put a really bad worship master in. They can wreck all that progress in 1 year, just with bad leadership. You can wreck the momentum of a good lodge, regardless of how many years they have behind them in 1 year. And then the next year you put a new worship master in. It's going to take time to reestablish things and get things direction and they need to go again. You can't rebuild a lodge in a year. And so my point is, you either have to have a really good lineup with people that are like-minded, that are willing to do whatever it takes and carry on the programs that have been implemented, or you have to have someone that's willing to do it for a while. And so that's kind of that's what I think. Like, if you, and that applies to the grand scale also, if you have some really good years and that gets derailed, it's going to take time to rebuild that. You can't do that. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? And so I agree. I mean, it's what we're looking for is change. We're not looking for everything that Sunday we wake up and everything's fixed, right? We're looking to get on track. I think we're looking to see things like, okay, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're heading in the right direction.
Right. The first year is really going to be it's really going to be a statement year, if nothing else. And we really need, in my opinion, we really need a year of peace and just unity and bringing the craft back together and just trying to have some really meaningful fellowship, meaningful education, um, and everything geared towards bringing the craft together and not continuing on with taking this person to task for this reason or this person or this person. I mean, of course, there's probably going to be a couple right at the beginning, or at least one, I'm sure. The but the reality is next year, no matter what happens, and which I truly thought that's what Bart was going to do, right? I thought he was just going to let everything relax and be the one that brought unity to the craft. But instead, he doubled down not too long ago, stating that he was going to continue on with what's been happening, and it's obvious with the secret sessions, right? But you know, whoever comes in, I don't think that we need to have all the answers in one year. I think we just need to have a moment to take a breath and and rebuild our fraternal relations, not only within our jurisdiction, but without. We've got brothers that just think we're the absolute laughing stock of Freemasonry around the world.
Yep.
And we need to fix that. That's what I hope for. That's my prayer in all reality. That's the truth.
There's a comment. It's Adam Olivier. He says, "Do y'all think that the guys who are doing these things behind the scenes to control things think they are the good guys?" Did Darth Vader think he
Do
was
I
a good?
what
Okay, I'll read it
what
again.
was it?
I'll read it again. I'll slow down for you. It says, Justin and Dennis. That's you and me. Do y'all think that the guys behind the scenes who are doing these things and controlling things think they are the good guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've thought about a lot of that too, because you have to kind of wonder, especially with a lot that's going on. You know, are, we on one side you look at it and you say, well, they're just doing it to stay in power. They're just doing it for their own ego. But you have to wonder, if they go to this length, do they really feel like what they're doing is what they feel like is best for Freemasonry? Like, well, if we allow them to do this, then this will happen, or this will fall apart. You kind of it's probably giving them more credit than they probably deserve. But I have to think at some point that they don't look at it as, well, I'm just building myself up. They really truly believe that what they're doing is what they believe is best for the for Freemasonry.
Well, here's a hypothetical, Jason. What would it take to get you or each of us in this call to twist the law in the way that it's being twisted, or other ways, and prosecute other brothers like this?
Right. Yeah.
I can't even think of an instance where.
And
No.
that is a fair point. Like, yeah.
I absolutely hate that option. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jason.
No, it's done. I think.
No, no, no. Go ahead.
No, no. I was done.
I don't know. I guess I'm more cynical. I think, and I use an analogy at our last live. Dennis didn't like it, but I think it was a great analogy. It's a Star Wars analogy, and but going back to that analogy, did Darth Vader think he was the good guy? Did Palpatine think he was the good guy? I'm sure they thought the ends justified the means, but I mean, it's the dark side. They knew it was the dark side. They were doing things that they knew were bad to justify the means, and I don't know that they think they're the good guys. I think that they're justifying. I think they're justifying their actions. I don't necessarily think they're the good. That they think they're the good guys, but I think feel like they're justifying their actions. That it justifies the means. I don't think anybody does. It is a serious psychological, and I'm not suggesting that's what's the case here. I'm just saying there are people that have done things terrible, and in their mind they thought it was the right thing, right? But that usually after the fact and after people have been arrested and psychologists to look at these people, it's sociopath behavior, right? They're not healthy in the head if they justify doing these things. And I'm not suggesting that's the case here, but I am suggesting to do things like that and to think you are the good guy, it's not healthy. There's something that's not clicking right.
I think a lot of these guys are selfish and self-centered, and they just have this craving to remain in power and to be in control. And the irony is, these people who have achieved so much in their Masonic career could offer so much to the new people who are basically coming up and growing in the fraternity. I mean, as sages, as keepers of wisdom, as mentors, there's actually more power and more influence. That's the way that you would establish a lasting legacy. The kind of legacy that they're going to be leaving now is not like a legacy I would want to have.
No,
it's pitiful. And I think some of them, and I won't name names, are bullies, just bullies, and they want it, their way. And they're not nice people.
Yeah.
I agree.
The Star Wars analogy. I like the Harry Potter one. There's Voldemort, and then there's Dementors. And we have Dementors that are just trying to suck the very life out of the new blood coming into the fraternity. And I hate to realize that Voldemort himself is a member of my lodge, and I find that really disgusting. Oh, did I say that? Oh, excuse me.
I think the Harry Potter
well, we all
is good
see
also.
it. I think we've all seen it in our lodges, and it's just like what we stated last week, is that the reality is these people wouldn't be doing it up there if they hadn't learned it and got away with it for so long in their own lodges. Then all these other appendant bodies that they put each other into and just kept on rolling with it, there's no way it would be happening if they didn't get away with it.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, and no one should be ashamed of saying that. Go ahead, Austin. What you got? This is open forum tonight, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Well, good evening, everybody. Sorry, I was on a Zoom with some other friends, and then another brother called and needed to talk about something. So.
It's all good.
Well, make sure his record is off. He's not allowed to record.
No, it was actually a Prince Hall brother talking to me about what's going on. So.
Oh, tell him to come on. I'll give him the link. I'm serious.
Oh, I'm sure. The thing about all this craziness is it is trickling down to the local lodge, because I'm seeing it right now in mine with this mentality that's going on. I'll share video, because Knob Creek did really, really well last year, but and we've gone from being really productive.
Nobody likes a braggart. Mr. Vanguard. We know where this is going. I'm just kidding.
But
good job, man. If you're a Vanguard, you're doing Freemasonry. Good job. That's all I got to say.
But we went from doing all this stuff to taking 45 minutes just to get to the minutes.
Yeah.
And no education, no just chaos business, no flow, people not coming, and all it took was a month. And if we keep going down this path, and it does have to come two different ways, is what I'm getting at. We have to push the top, and we have to do it from the grassroots level also.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The local lodges need to be doing the right things right too. We can't, so on some of this, we can't wait for Grand Lodge to be the oil tanker that moves, because you know how long it takes for an oil tanker to turn.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I say education is so important, because next year we have to educate that this is not okay. And we're not going to allow it to happen in our lodges. This is a grassroots revival, a renaissance. This is not a top-down solution. This is a grassroots renaissance. And the only way it's really going to make a difference and a real impact and meaning in our lives is going to be if it comes through the lodges, in my opinion.
There are some lodges out there that need a major culture change, or to disappear, being blunt.
Right.
And
we don't do blunts in Texas Freemasonry.
Yeah. Well, you know, be direct and to the point. And a lot of guys
messing around.
A lot of guys who join just to go straight to appendant bodies. I mean, all of us are in appendant bodies, but never go back to their blue lodge. That needs to be fixed too.
Yeah.
Well, but I think that fixes itself, though, doesn't it? If we're doing it right.
Yeah, if we're doing it right, the guys will come back. And you have to. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I lost my train of thought. So
sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm jumping in like we're just having a scotch and having fun talking. I'm sorry. I forget that this is an actual broadcast. I apologize. I'm going to shut up for a while.
Well, I was just going to say that people go to appendant bodies with the blue lodge doesn't offer what they're looking for, and so it's if it's offering when they come through, you can keep them. But when they go off, start looking at other pastures, it's kind of hard to rent them in. But I agree, it starts at the foundation. It starts at Blue Lodge.
And at the end of the day, I think you would see people on both sides of this chaos going right now would agree with that statement. I would think that they both think it starts at the Blue Lodge level.
Kovar asked, "Do you think they will start Order 66?" It started. They started in January. They started going after the Jedi in January. If you think about it, but yeah.
And that whole thing, that like after that happened, any hope of a positive, productive year went out the window right then and there.
Yeah, I agree. There was a comment I wanted to hit on real quick. Oh, David Lawson says, there's two of my lodge brothers that are both fellow crafts. What do you say to them about all this going on?
I have a fellow craft that I'm taking through the degrees, and he is seeing all this. Mm-hmm. He's also had several candid conversations with me about what he's seeing at our lodge. And I said, with the lodge side of it, I said, you have good masters, you have not so good masters. And don't let one guy be the reason you completely leave the fraternity.
Yeah.
Like you can't let one guy ruin it for you as much as that can be difficult to do. But stay the course is what I would say.
Yeah, when you just start, I can see how that could be discouraging.
Mm-hmm. But if
I made a post. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But if you're going through one of those lodges that's barely doing anything anyway, like grab your mentor. If you've got one, you should. It's get out and travel. Find a place where you feel like you belong. And if you're doing it, if you're mentoring right, if you're going to other lodges, you're taking that EA and fellowcraft with you. So they can see different things, taking them to anything you can, and exposing them.
If they're just
even if it's a place you know that sucks.
Well, sometimes you got to go to places that suck. There's a lot.
Mhm.
You really got to put it in context for them. I think all Masons need to see what works and what doesn't.
I
Exactly.
think this is why. I think this is why, in my opinion, this is why EAs and fellow crafts shouldn't be in the Master Masons Lodge until they're Master Masons, because they don't need to be worried about this.
They need to be worried
I
about doing the
it,
work.
right, get through the work. By time they become Master Masons, we're going to be on a different path.
Yeah.
Whether it still includes some of the current Grand Officers or not, I assure you, with what has happened this year, there is going to be a different path. That enough has happened and enough people made their voice clear that whatever happens, we are no longer going this way anymore. It's going to go this way, this way. I don't think it's going to go this way anymore.
Uh,
I think we'll get together, but it'll be a different trajectory.
Yeah.
And we need to remind them that this is administrative. This is not Masonry. And we need to encourage them to focus on Masonry.
Yeah.
As a counter to that, it's really hard for them not to see it when we're airing dirty laundry in public.
Well, they shouldn't be on Facebook on these
Well,
groups either, in my opinion. That's
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. Like it's out there to see.
When I
And
went, sorry, Austin, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
that Pandora's box was opened already, like a long time ago.
right. They opened it, yeah.
Yeah, there's no going back.
With
And
the-
then wanted to close it so that this didn't happen.
yeah. I went through at the time when you still couldn't sit in lodge unless you're a master, and I used that time sitting outside practicing. I don't think there's, aside from education, there's nothing that's really going to provide value that it's so urgent to get them into the meeting. And
They
I
don't
also
need to hear about the power bill.
no, they don't. No, I agree. And even as far as education goes, they really just need to be focusing on learning their work. And then they can sit in the lodge and attend all that stuff. Just because, but keep this in mind. Just because the lodge can let an EA or fellowcraft in, doesn't mean they have to. It's the master's call. The master can say every year, every state of meeting is going to be master's lodge. And if you're EA or fellowcraft, you need to be outside. You need to still show up and you need to be outside practicing. So it's the bar that's been lowered, but you can still raise the bar at your individual lodge. And you can say you can't put it back in the box. Of course you can. So whoever the worshipful master could just say, it's my discretion and we're going to open Master Mason unless we're doing a degree. Yeah,
My point about the Pandora's box was them seeing the chaos going on.
oh,
that-
yeah.
That Pandora's box has been opened. It's nothing we can do. Like for my lodge, I opened and master every month. And if I had EAs and fellowcrafts there and our education was tailored to EAs and fellowcrafts, I double ordered down and brought them in for the education.
Hmm.
So they could at least hear that education, because we had like kicked the year off with Jim Rumsey coming in to talk about stuff from the EA degree. And then there was education that was held just for masters. Like, you got to do it that way sometime.
Yeah. I agree.
Talking about like symbols in the master's degree, talking about the carpet and all that good stuff. But there were times where I felt like it was good to have the EAs and fellowcrafts in the room. We didn't have them in the room during resolution discussions. That was masters only.
Mm-hmm. We had Ed and Aram just jumped in. I believe that's Jeff Bennett. He just hopped into
Sneaky.
sneaky. I think it's Jeff.
I do have one plug I need to make.
Yeah, let's hear it.
This upcoming Tuesday, Temple Chapter and Council will be meeting. And we are honored to be receiving the Grand Master of the Grand Council
Nice.
for an official visit.
Nice.
So we're having fajitas. No green beans.
What month do you have me coming? Is it February?
February, yeah. And we got Justin coming in February. March is probably going to be, district deputy visits. April, I have Bob Brunk coming to give education.
Bob Brunk does good education.
And then May, it's tentative. We have a tentative, but I don't want to announce until it's final. And then June's elections. And on the 30th of January, we're doing council degrees. And those will be getting conferred by the Grandmaster. Both of them.
Nice. Just doing council?
Just council. We got 2 guys we need to catch up. They missed the last set of degrees. So we're catching them up, and then we're starting our next class.
Gotcha.
And we already got 3 candidates for that class, and we're looking at 2 more.
What do you mean when you say class? Like, are you doing...
We group them in groups of 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know why.
Yeah. I think you told me about that. You just do 3 at a time. Okay.
Yeah, we do it that way on purpose. So when we get to that point, it's already set and ready to go. And we're having fun down here in Temple. You know, you want to come up from Goliad and talk about how great things are from McKinney.
Talk about all the beautiful mesquite trees.
Yeah. But we always welcome everybody to come to Temple Chapter Council. We have a great time.
Well, when you're tired of EA discussions with Justin, you can call me for a master's discussion, and we'll really get down to nitty gritty.
I prefer fellowcraft discussions.
Oh, absolutely.
Booyah.
And to be honest, yes, to be honest, I do speak more on those than anything, but I like it to be in a master's lodge. I don't like to let something slip, trying to give an analogy and let something slip and be like, oh man, even though it's not going to give away anything, but it still, I just hate to.
You don't want to run the risk either.
Yeah.
Right. There's always that guy.
I did education one night on Ashlers and blew some minds on that one.
We have Cesar Rubio's in chat. He says a course correction is coming for the coming years, and strong men need to stand together. And I absolutely agree.
I agree. And from what I understand, they have the same thing. Well, not the exact same thing, but they have some issues going on in California as well that they're struggling with is also.
Yeah, he's been.
So it's not just Texas.
Apparently, it's on one of his most recent podcasts. I hadn't had a chance to listen to it, but he was saying that I think it was Wednesday he was talking about it. He had one most recent, so I'm going to check that out on my drive tomorrow. I usually listen when I'm riding, and I haven't been driving since I've been off for holidays, so I start back tomorrow. I'll be listening to it. Kovar34 says, I understand your point about letting fellowcrafts and EAs into the lodge, but also we want to make sure they feel included, but also agree they don't need to be exposed to some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I agree they need to be included, and I think you can include them in your dinner and in your practices and everything, but you still have like, hey, this is the. To me, when I was going through it and I couldn't go into the lodge, that was my carrot on the stick. That was like, hey, I mean, granted, once I actually got in there, I was like, oh, okay, light bills, but that was kind of the carrot on the stick for me because I didn't know.
El Paso 130 only opens in Masters. That's it.
Yeah.
And the only time they'll call down is if they're doing a degree or proficient. Like if they're doing proficiency on a stated meeting, they'll call down for that. Or if the Grand Master that year says he wants the EAs and fellowcrafts to hear the message.
Yeah. David Lawson has a few plugs. He says on the 13th, Wichita Falls is holding a York Rat Festival, and on the 16th, Faith Lodge will host Brother John Nagy, who we all know and love. Dude, that episode with Nagy was... We need to do another one like that. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, any of you brothers that haven't seen that one yet, you should definitely go back. It was a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, that we did the interview, and talk about a very meaningful and intentional interview. That was a work of art. It made me happy that we were interviewing again.
Yeah. I didn't really know where it was going to go. I don't think anyone did, but it. I think Brother Nagy's used to things a little more structured, but I think it went wonderfully. Just let's just have a conversation about Freemasonry, and that's really where some of our best interviews come from. It's just let's just have a conversation about Freemasonry and see where it takes us.
Dennis and structure.
Right.
Adam Olivier says there's no better way to disappoint an EA and fellow craft than to bring them into a business meeting. Yeah, I agree.
Now he's going to be at our communication this year, right?
He is.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
great.
he is, and he's bringing a bunch of books. He'll be over at the pop-up shop,
Yeah.
and actually he'll be over with us most of the time in Grand Lodge. But yeah, he's bringing his books, so it's going to be an awesome time. He'll be at the dinner with us.
Did I hear correctly? Is the Grandmaster and the Grandmaster and what is it, Deputy Grandmaster of New Mexico going to be here also?
Yes,
They are.
yes.
I mean, that's
Most
cool.
worshipful Thomas Shank and Deputy Grandmaster Steve Omiger will be there, as well as Grand Senior Deacon Lucas Minton will be here.
Yeah.
All of my rowdy friends are coming in.
Everybody's going to be here.
It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice.
It's worth going to Grand Lodge just to meet shake all the hands, even if you don't.
Well,
care
it
about
is
all the
because
stuff going on.
yeah, because if you didn't have these opportunities for dinners like this to just get to know these brothers, you would think it was still kissing rings and shaking babies and all that kind of stuff. But you get to know these brothers and you realize how genuine they are, and they're some of my most favorite Masons as people and as humans. They're just really down to earth, good brothers who believe in the craft.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes me proud to know them.
By the way, you're talking about the dinner. I meant to ask you earlier. Are you expecting everybody to have an invitation, Dennis?
Do what?
Are you expecting everybody to have an invitation that shows up? Like you're talking about the invitation
No.
for the okay, all right.
No, I mean we have our well, I guess I could ask them to print one off, but
No,
I
it's
pretty
fine.
much know all of our members.
I was asking because we got a local speaker that came on the show a long time ago, and I invited him, and I don't want him to feel like he was getting turned away or anything.
Who is that?
His name's Israel Bowman. He's a good friend of mine. He came on the show
Okay.
a long time
Yeah.
ago, but he
I know.
I think I'm speaking for him, but I'm also speaking for myself and probably a lot of us in the inner circle. We need a dinner like that. Like we need something like that for ourselves, right? To actually sit with like-minded people and have some good education. Like that's something that, especially with everything going on, we need somewhere we could just kind of reset. And I think that's going to provide it for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's going to kickstart a good weekend of fellowship and unity. It's just really going to be, you're going to get all the aspects that you're looking for, right? You're going to get to, run around and be gentlemen. You're going to be able to have fellowship, have good education on a couple of different opportunities for good education, because Craig Enderley will be giving the presentation at our dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's going to be all kinds of wonderful opportunities for Masonry.
Have you touched base with him lately to be sure we're still good for that?
Of course I have. I touch base with him every other day.
Okay. Appreciate that. So any other thoughts
Who are you
anyone wants to
talking
share?
to?
Talking
Who are you talking to?
You.
That you like to go to bed early and enforce that on everybody else? Impose those restrictions on everyone else?
What are you talking about? I was
You
just
just
asking if you
asked for
talked to
thoughts.
What?
No, you just asked for thoughts.
No, I didn't. I'm not asking
So,
if you thought.
If I'm lying, I'm dying.
Nice knowing you. I'm sorry, who was going to talk?
the Jason Reichenberg.
Okay.
And I only bring this up because someone tagged me on Facebook um, to and there's and the post was looking up odd fellows or elks in Texas to see if to deal with some of this nonsense. And so Dennis kindly tagged me on there. But the short answer is yes, probably to a much lesser degree. I think the big difference is so at least in the Elks, I don't know about the Odd Fellows, but at least in the Elks, there's no such thing as appendant bodies. There's no such thing as invitational bodies. It's either you're an elk or you're not. Now you can go up the Grand Lodge line. They have state associations. There's some of that, but as far as like our problems, you mostly exist usually at the local level, and it has a lot to do with most of it's incompetence, and then failing to adhere to like state laws and stuff like that. Because we have things like um, we have bars, we have restaurants, we have things, that kind of stuff, like stuff that you actually have to follow TABC guidelines and all that kind of stuff. What I would say is probably the bigger difference is the kind of what I perceive, and just at my little local level, is kind of the proliferation of all these invitational bodies out there that get dangled in front of guys going up through the Grand Lodge line, that if they don't follow what this guy says, he's not going to get invited to these additional bodies out there, these exclusive bodies out there that these past Grand Masters get invited to. And honestly, I think it's a problem. I have nothing against invitational bodies. I belong to a couple of them. And but I helped start the AMD Council here in Seguin, and I've already told a couple of guys. I said, if this thing ever got used as a way to control what's happening in Seguin, as like somehow like, well, if you don't do what I say, you're not going to get invited to AMD or something like that. I'll be the first one to step up and try and shut it down, because that is not what these are for. And to see them being used in that manner is, to me, it's despicable. So yeah, in the Elks, yeah, obviously, anytime you have humans involved in anything, you're going to have problems. But that, I think, is a big distinction that you just don't see, one from the other is kind of this, well, you won't get invited to this little secret group over here, unless you play ball or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any kind of plan or anything to kind of address that. But I do. I think it's an issue.
Yeah. I think I can't help but wonder if a lot of these appendant bodies are created just for that purpose. I think the way you handle it is you bring it to light.
Yeah.
You just bring it to light. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we got. Say, hey, this guy promised me this for this.
Yeah, and I think Roberto started bringing some of that out when he displayed that letter that he's now, quote, banned from a body, and you're like, well, there you go. It's proof that it happens.
Yeah. But what's funny to me, I don't know, like some of these organizations, like they get dangled like it's like a carrot on a stick, but no one's ever heard of them. I mean, who really cares? So I mean, some elusive thing that I've never heard of and no one's ever heard of, that probably doesn't do anything. I can't go to that. Big deal, big deal. I say I was wrong about Adoniram. Adoniram is actually the one and only Kadeem. It is not Jason Rockenberg. I mean, not Jeff Bennett. It is Kadeem. Welcome, my guy. Glad to have you.
Jeff Bennett never had it so good. I think you're right as far as people dangling those carrots in front of other people. But I think I have to believe that's a recent thing, and maybe a very recent thing. But so so I really do
What do you mean by
believe that,
that?
you know, if you need that kind of an education, you need to go back to your Blue Lodge and just stay there a while.
Mm.
The No, I really do believe that there were there have been so many degrees developed over the years for different lessons, and that's what it's all about, right? It's That's why we all say that, they're not levels, they're degrees, so that we can, learn different lessons throughout our journey. They're different degrees of learning. And I truly believe that so many of them were created just for different lessons, because the culture in this part of the world is going to understand and take in this knowledge a little bit differently if it's done in folklore type, um, a folklore type melodrama that is resembles their upbringing and their culture and their historical, ideals of deity and things like that. I truly believe that.
Mhm.
And me personally, I would love to see every degree possible in my lifetime that has real meaning like that. Now, something like the bathtub degree, one of the AMD degrees that you have to have a past Grand Master to put it on, that's a bullshit degree. There, in my
Talking about Order of the
opinion, there
Bath,
is, yeah.
the
I
bathtub.
am a member, and yeah, I
Wow.
am a member. I just happened to be there at the end of the session, and it was fun, but having that kind of stipulation of a past Grand Master to be able to put it on, that's just not my cup of tea. It really isn't. I think that we really need to step back and look in those type of instances and say, is that really what we're here for?
Yeah,
Um,
and I completely agree that if you're joining an order that quite literally, because there's two orders out there, or two versions of the same order out there, that supposedly one is, well, these are for the future grandmasters, and this one over here, well, this is,
Yes.
and that kind of stuff has got to, it's got to be brought to light, and it's got to be put out and stopped. Like, this is not how you see people. We should be electing grand junior wardens to go up the line based on their merits, not, well, they got, you know they kissed the right ring and they were a part of this, and and so now we can sign off on them and everything. So
yeah. I think talking about the appendant bodies, I think also district deputy deposition gets used similarly. I think there's some people that you get on a list and you don't get it, or it's done as a favor. You do this for me, you district deputy. But also, it's not just district deputy, and not just appendant bodies, but also just lots of different positions around and about in different bodies and stuff. Things like that are used as, it's almost like a barter system. Unfortunately, it's not a meritocracy. It's a favoritocracy, if that's a word. Brian Song in the chat says, in Tennessee, most of the guys in the invitational orders do it to get another carrot or past title. They do. They appear to have tended to be for more light and contemplation, but that has fallen by the wayside. Yeah.
I think in reality, a lot of it starts that way to where you really are jumping in for all the right reasons. I think it happens a lot. And then you get into the groups and then you kind of shift, these groups kind of shift from this one into this body, into this body, into this body, into this body.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think that anyone necessarily has bad intentions from the get-go going into some of these groups. Um, except for some people I could see that would be their only intention. People that build their business on relationships within groups, but otherwise I would say that a lot of just normal people like us would just get in it for the right reasons, it seems like,
Yeah.
and then just kind of fall into it as we went along, kind of get caught up in it, which we have to combat every day.
We talked about something before because you're talking about idealistic, and I agree with it. There's a quote I'm trying to remember, but I don't even know it's a quote, but it was something we discussed in the past. You have good men who put peace and harmony on a pedestal. They don't want to upset anybody. They don't want to ruffle any feathers. They just want everyone to have a good time. And then you have other people, bad people, who don't care about any of that. They just want to use everything as an ends to a mean, and they'll use people as an ends to the mean. And unfortunately, what that
Right.
usually means is you have the good men that are pushed aside. They're taken advantage of by people that use um, uh, dirt on people, or just otherwise just work their way into the organization. My point is, as good men, we have to be more like crusaders and less like monks, if that makes sense. Like we can't just let someone come and push us over. We have to be good men, but we have to be diligent. We have to say, no, you're not going to do that. No, that applies to everything. Like we have to have a certain bar that we set for ourselves in our organizations, and certain standards. And don't I mean, peace and harmony is important, but don't put it up on this pedestal where it has a priority over everything. And understand that sometimes feelings have to get hurt. Sometimes people get mad, but that's okay because ultimately, if you're doing the right thing, it all works out.
Right. Don't put the P on a pedestal.
Don't put the P on the pedestal. By the way, since we have so many new members, I posted this on the YouTube members only, but just be aware if you are a member of the inner circle, you have access to the group for the inner circle on Facebook. And if you want to go into that, you have to request it. But the link for that is on. See, here's Austin. The link to that is on YouTube. So be sure. That way only members only can see it. So just be sure to hop in on that, because we're going to use that to communicate. But also, we can have conversations just like this in a semi-private area on the inner circle. So just be sure. Use it. It's an advantage for you.
Right. A good example of people who utilize the fraternity for an ends to a mean, and I don't think that they even originally planned on it that way, but it, but it became that at some point. The brothers that run around and pull a membership from every, oh, I'm about to lose my power. Brothers that run around and pull a membership from every lodge there is in a district, and then the next district over, and trying to stack them deep, sell them cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes, that's where you get kind of the brothers like what we end up having at the Grand Lodge level after a while, that are just in it for the membership and not for the meaning. It seems that way sometimes. I mean, it can become more of an ego thing than a further light thing. Because if the lodges are all doing the same thing at every place, and you're not getting different light or more light at any of the different lodges, why are you joining?
Well, you're also
Really? To
propping
go
up
through another chair?
you're propping up zombie lodges also. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
what's really the advantage of being a 5 times past master? I mean, what is that? Different lodges too, right? And some people seek that kind of stuff out, though.
Right. And I know that in a lot of cases that didn't start out that way. It's kind of like what we're talking about with the appendant bodies. In a lot of cases, it was true and genuine that they wanted to help a neighboring lodge. And somebody said, "Well, hey, will you come over? We like what you're doing over here. Will you come help us over here?" And then you get over there and you help them over there, and then you help them at the next place. And then, you know, 2 years later, every lodge in the district looks exactly the same. And then all the lodges surrounding that district look exactly the same. So, where's the benefit in having different lodges if they're all looking exactly the same? You ought to just consolidate them all into one lodge. I hate to be that guy, but I
Yeah,
gotta be that guy sometimes.
it's more work, but I think it's a huge advantage to every lodge having its own personality and embracing that. And I mean, yeah, if your meetings look exactly like every other meetings in the district, it's boring. David
Yeah,
Lawson says that
that's
kind of goes back to the conversation you had with Nagy about the difference between Masonry and Freemasonry. There is a difference. Yo, absolutely. Absolutely. Like the stuff that we're dealing with right now is a
yes.
Freemasonry issue in Texas. It's not a Masonry issue. Masonry will last. Well, Masonry will exist long before and long after these Freemasonry issues are resolved.
Right. Well, ultimately, the institution can crumble, which is Freemasonry,
Mm.
and Masonry will still be around because, think about those first lessons you learned. You know, where were you first prepared?
On the petition. Waka waka. All right. Well,
Nice.
what else you got? Anyone else got anything else? It's been kind of the.
Did we really run off everybody?
It's well, most people go to work on Mondays.
Still here. Still here.
Nice.
I'm still here.
So, 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 what do y'all have? What thoughts do y'all have? Y'all have been kind of quiet tonight. What kind of thoughts are creeping through your mind? Are there any thoughts that you'd be interested in hearing more information on, if it can be shared and stuff like that? What's been going through your mind when you are learning about all this stuff?
Don't be shy.
I mean, I think at least on my end, it's kind of in a holding pattern to see what's going to happen. Because I'm right now. I mean, I've talked to Dennis a little bit about this. I'm senior warden at Victory Lodge. I'm intentionally not going to Grand Lodge this year, mainly because I always said that I wasn't going to go until I was actually worshipful master and actually had a specific duty to perform there. Um, the worshipful master from my lodge is going, so there's no need for me to cast a vote on behalf of the lodge, blah blah, all that kind of stuff. So my only point would be going would just to quite literally satisfy my own curiosity, and for me personally, that's not a good reason for me. That's not a good reason for me to go. I will there. I know plenty of people that are going. I'm sure I can probably watch a live feed from everything that happens throughout the day and stuff like that. So I don't need to take up a spot or anything like that, or just be in the peanut gallery, you know. But, however, as the presumed incoming worshipful master for Victory Lodge, obviously, I want to see what happens. And yes, if for some reason there is a shakeup, it'd be interesting to see, what the leadership comes out. But what I'm really more interested in is the leadership coming in as junior warden, senior warden, deputy, because those are the ones that over the next few years is always going to determine what the direction this Grand Lodge takes. So, that I think, at least for a lot of us right now, yeah, we see what's going on. Not a whole lot we can really do about it, especially those of us that are you know, junior officers right now who don't have a real say on anything. But
Not with that attitude.
you know what I'm saying. You know, so, but we will. A lot of us will probably be watching to see what is going to be coming out of this and what's the future for the next several years is going to be. So
I want to address a comment in the chat. Jason, I didn't mean to cut you off. If I did, did you get your thought out, or I just wanted to
yes,
get that
yeah,
in?
you didn't interrupt like
Oh,
Dennis does.
okay,
You're
good. I try not to. All right, so it's Brian's song, and he says, "Why does?" And I'm gonna answer this, but I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts too. Why does this keep happening when there have been recent cases like with GEKT? I'm not sure what that is. Grand Lodge of South Carolina, and we see the outcome of what happens to those who disrupt the order. So I'm going to go back to a small. I like to use analogies, and I like to use the lodge itself because I think if we understand what's happening in the lodge, we can understand what's happening on the bigger scene also, because lots of lodges, and I think probably most of us had seen this at one point. If you have a lodge and you let somebody into the lodge that doesn't necessarily need to be a Mason, but we let them into the lodge, and they stick around and they start going through the leadership chairs. And eventually we get to the point where they have to be elected. Well, we go ahead and elect them because there's no one running against them. But my point is, it gets to the point where it's time to put them in the East, and they clearly have no leadership capability. Maybe they still don't even know the work. But they have no leadership skills. But since it's their turn, we go ahead and elect them to go to the East, knowing that's probably going to be a bad year. But at least we don't ruffle any feathers. And my point is, like, we have to be diligent. We have to be diligent not just about who we let into the lodge itself, new members and existing members alike, but we also have to be diligent about who we put through the chairs and who we elect to the offices. And we need to constantly be evaluating. Just because we elected them as junior warden doesn't mean they need to keep moving forward. And I think that also applies at the grand scale. And the issue is we haven't been doing that. Now we're facing the consequences of that. Now everyone's trying to rush to start doing that, but it's something that we should do every year. All this stuff, all this tea, we should be spilling tea every year. We should hold people accountable and leadership accountable every year. We should always be evaluating, is this the best person for this office? Every year, in my opinion.
Right. Well, I think one of the issues is that we do whisper good counsel. Like, look at the last post. I think that Roberto did, and with Bart, and he said that he did, tell him, this stuff is not okay. Why are you doing this stuff? And it didn't, nothing changed course or anything like that. So people give wise counsel, and then it doesn't change, and they just give up. They think they no longer have a voice, and when in reality, they absolutely do. Because for every one person, it's always been said, for every one person that's willing to say something, there's probably 10 others that are thinking it that just haven't said anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so we too often just assume that we're the only one thinking it because everybody else is afraid to say anything. And so nothing else gets said until a couple of people really stand up and just, kick the doors in and say, it's time we stop doing this. And then everybody will say, oh, okay, this is real. Everybody's starting to get it, and everybody's starting to jump in. So now we need to all get together. But, for usually it's just somebody whispering good counsel, and nothing happens and they walk away.
Mhm.
Or they leave lodge, they never come back. That happens more times than anything, is that, they're pressured to actually leave because they don't know masonry.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's a shame. It's a shame that it is that way. But that's the reality. We can only do what we can do. And a lot of us give up too easily. I'm just too freaking hard headed to throw in the towel. You had to kick me in the head a few times before I let loose. Kind of like a pit bull.
Hey, Kadeem, are you in a way where you can talk? I wanted to ask you something. If not, that's fine. We'll get it another time. I don't know if he's just listening. I don't know if he's back working. I don't know if he's back in the States yet or not. I know he said he's going to be back for Waco, hopefully, but I don't know.
Right.
Oh well. If he can't,
No.
are you there? I saw his mic turn on. Hello?
It looks like he's unmuted, but I don't think his microphone's working.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's all right, Kadeem. No worries. I just want to ask you something.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, man. Where you at?
Oh, I'm back in the States as of yesterday,
Okay.
but I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to ask you something if that's okay. If you feel up to it. So we kind of talked about this a little bit. I wanted to hear it. So to be clear, the was it resolution 9 about the alcohol? It's not a huge deal to me, really. I could go either way, right? I just want to see it be successful because I think grown men should be able to make their own decisions, right? So I want to preface with that because some people are like,
it's absolutely important to me.
Weirdly defensive. You said drinking at a lodge wasn't important to you, Dennis.
Do what?
You said that on the resolution conversation.
It's not important to me. It's not important that I actually be able to drink in lodge, but it's important to me that this passes because I should have the choice.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I should have the choice.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Me drinking, if the lodge don't want to drink, that's fine. The resolution is important to me. Okay. Let me clarify. Like the resolution I want to see pass, and it goes back to what I say because I think grown men should be able to make their own decisions. But people actually drinking in a lodge, like if a lodge doesn't do that, that's their call. Kadeem, I wanted to ask you though, because you were in Europe, were there a lot of lodges that had alcohol?
Everyone had a bar. Everyone had a bar, and they had drinks before and after lodge.
Before and
they
after
still
lodge.
performed well.
Wow.
Provincial grandmasters were present. And his college of officer, he had drinks with us. They all had at least 3 to 4 drinks before the meeting. But guess what? They still performed well. Nobody was intoxicated to the point where they couldn't do anything.
How many jurisdictions did you visit?
I did 3. England, France, and Germany.
So England, France, and Germany, and every lodge you visited had alcohol before and after the meeting.
Alcohol before and after.
Did anyone
and even way after.
Did anyone ever pressure you, or did you ever feel pressured into consuming alcohol?
Nope. They actually had a bigger respect for me, but nobody pressured me into it. They actually had also non-alcoholic option. It was there.
Nice. So
yes.
Nice.
So they've allowed alcohol, but their grand lodges have not imploded. I'm just curious because I got into some conversations with some people that were pretty anti-prohibition on Facebook, and one of the guys, he said he went to Germany and no one drank there, and I had a really hard time believing that. Of all places, Germany. Yeah, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
So, and then he promptly left the group. He didn't like that conversation. But man, like
Germans don't drink. I don't know who told you that.
Yeah,
they consume.
They consume.
It's done via IV.
Yeah.
Who told you that?
Yeah, that's the thing that really upsets me about all of this is a few people are making this argument that because of an alcoholic having an issue, then everybody should face prohibition. And then one of them brought it up as far as cooking, going all the way to the lengths of cooking food with alcohol in it. It's like, dude, if I'm gonna make rum cake, I'm going to have an apple pie too. I'm not just going to have a rum cake and tell you eat this or nothing. If you're a vegan and you come to my lodge, I mean, I may laugh at you, but I'm going to have an option. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to laugh at you. I respect that. But I'm going to have an option for you to where you do not have to eat what I eat if it's something that you let me know about. I'm happy with that. And usually in most lodges, there's enough food there. You don't have to eat the non-vegan items. I mean, there's plenty of other stuff.
Well, it also doesn't mean that a lodge has to serve alcohol, right? It's up to the discretion of the lodge if it passes. So if a lodge wants to go that route, like I don't really know what it would permit, but if a lodge wants to go that route, and the members want to do that, then fine. But if you have a lodge where you have a lot of members that, hey, I really just don't really want to involve alcohol in my Freemasonry, that's fine. The lodge doesn't have to do that. Or if you're a member and the lodge wants to do that, then leave after or don't partake. It's no different than if your lodge right now went to a bar after. You don't have to go. You don't have to partake. You can leave before everyone goes. Nothing changes. And it's the discretion of the lodge. It's not going to be like, well...
And nobody says anything about you.
Yeah, and no one says anything about you. Just leave quietly.
Look, if Resolution 9 passes, you might as well put a stripper pole in the east. That's what I...
That's funny. That's funny. That's exactly... Yes. Oh my gosh, don't even say that. Oh my gosh, don't even say that. I still have to walk in Grand Lodge and go through that down that one sloped area where you go through and they're all sitting right there. Mm-hmm. I still have to go through there, and I do not want to have that in my mind walking through Grand Lodge. But the reality of it is that just like Kadeem said, we have at regular dinners, we have sweet tea, unsweet tea, and then sugar-free tea, which I always thought was unsweet tea, but apparently people like saccharin, so they choose that option. We have those three options in our Texas lodges. Why can we not have options for people who don't drink? Even have options for people like Kadeem who love milk. Make sure it's there.
Shirley Temples.
Because I want to see him at my lodge. If I know he's coming, I'm going to have all the makings for Shirley Temple. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Just saying.
He's got his hand up. What's up, my bud?
So it even went to the point where there was two lodges in France. So one was working on the York Rite, and then the other one was doing the French Rite. But the York Rite lodge that I visited, it was a practice lodge. They opened and closed and everything, and in the middle of it, they call it to refreshment and brought alcohol inside the lodge room, and they call it refreshment. The worship master brought snacks and everything. With alcohol. Yes.
That's refreshment.
So we had 20 minutes where we were inside in regalia. I mean, that's the secret there, but we were drinking, and then they call it back to labor. I was like, nice. Oh my God, this in Texas? You're going to be crucified.
Yeah, it's enough of a fight just to have it in the lodge building. I could imagine it being in the lodge room. What if you spelled beer on the Bible?
So a real quick story, and then yes, it's about the Elks, but obviously, the Elks every Elks lodge has a bar, and there's always, drinking beforehand, drinking after lodge, but it was never in the Constitution, interestingly enough, to not have alcohol in the lodge room during a meeting itself, but it was always understood. Nobody ever did it. Nobody ever brought beer in or, drinking during the lodge meeting and stuff like that. And so finally, Grand Lodge, like 5 or 6 years ago, somebody finally put up a resolution that says no alcohol in the meeting itself. I was like, whatever. We'd always done it, but now it's actually going to be codified. Well, then somebody during the Grand Lodge session stood up and made a an amendment that said, "Oh, okay, so now we're not going to have it during the lodge meeting. Well, now we want to amend it to say no, even during any and all committee meetings or other meetings." And they were like, "No, that's that got shot down really quickly." Like,
Nice.
it's the only reason why we go to committee meetings.
Exactly.
But it did pass. Yes, it got codified that no, there was no alcohol during the actual lodge meeting. But yeah, obviously beforehand and afterwards, and it's that part of it has never really been an issue.
Thank you for sharing that. There's a few comments real quick. David Bendel says when he was in Malaysia 15 years ago, the brethren toasted at the festive boards. When a brother being toasted was not an alcohol consumer, all of the brethren present would toast with non-alcohol. I like that. Kirk Otto says one brother can make it bad for your lodge. Be prepared to handle him. Yeah, I think if you have someone that's getting obviously too inebriated, the lodge, like, hey, we need to say, like, hey, go set a limit on this guy, and then you need to be sure that you're taking him home and not letting them drive. I agree.
Well, and not only that, but that's where the wise counsel comes in. If there's an issue, then you should start having other conversations with that brother. That's what our job is. That's what we're supposed to be doing to help each other become better.
Yeah.
That's why back in the early 1900s, you see, so many lodges with charges filed against people for alcohol. I mean, you see that in almost every secretary's minutes in the late 1800s and early 1900s. You see every other month there's charges going against somebody for public intoxication because they didn't want that. They didn't want people walking around stupid and making a poor example of themselves in public, and for very good reason. I agree. At that time, we had such high standards of ourselves. People held us in such high regard that would be detrimental to us. So, yeah, I mean,
Based
I don't
off
know.
based off the perception at the time. What I mean is at that time society had a very prohibition mentality on alcohol in the United States, but that's not necessarily the case.
Hold on just a second. Love you, Charles. You have a good evening. You're in our prayers. We love you.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Y'all have a good night.
Take care. Does someone have something? Because I had a comment on chat I was going to read. If not, okay. We got Scotsman, Texas. He says, why in my experience does Texas not really recognize out-of-state past masters? Not that I'm looking for special privileges, it's just that I feel like I'm even looked down upon. That hasn't been my experience. I think Texas is such a big state. I mean, we're already recognizing people from far away anyway. What do y'all think?
They don't recognize the grandmasters from like
No.
let's say Arkansas.
Not grandmasters, just past
Or
masters.
grand officers.
No, just like
Past masters.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant past grands or grand officers, because they don't recognize grand officers below the levels that we vote for here.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been my experience. If you may be in a bad lodge if you're out of state past master and you're experiencing that, but
We recognize everybody in our lodges.
Yeah.
That all the ones I belong to. I mean, every past master is recognized.
I mean, past
Now
master
we
lodge,
also,
past
I
master-
also, I put them on in my sign-in sheet also. When I'm a visitor of a lodge, I'll put Dennis Yates, past master, Goliad 94.
Mhm.
That way they know, so that they have that option to do that. But yeah, I've never had anybody not do that for us.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's called the Temperance Movement. Yeah. You had these. So I mean, my granddad told me when he was alive there was a time where if you sold beer, you couldn't be a Mason. Like if you sold beer, they would not let you in, and that was because of the prevailing perception towards alcohol at the time. And I think a lot of brothers, some of them were probably alive at that point, that still have the same mentality. But we got to move past that.
Have you ever seen the what's that movie? Oh, son of a gun! Now I'm gonna have to think about it. Go ahead. I've got to find it.
Sure.
I love it. It's a great movie. But go ahead.
No, I'm good. Does anyone else have anything they want to add real quick while Dennis is looking for that? Because once he has that, I'm probably gonna wrap up because it's getting late.
Oh my
I'm
gosh!
starting back tomorrow after 2 weeks, man. I gotta get some sleep. I'm gonna be dragging.
We've had 2 shows in 2 weeks, and you're dragging. Such a wine bag, such a millennial.
Do you have something, Kadeem?
Now that I've killed the rest of our membership, the other half of our membership has left us.
Me?
Yeah, you popped back up. I didn't know if you had something to say.
Oh no. I'll be down in San Antonio area later this spring, so be looking forward to
Nice.
seeing Brother Dennis and then Jason Reichenberg as well.
Absolutely. Let us know when you're coming down.
Oh, you'll be at Scottish Rite?
Victory Lodge. You don't need to go any further south than that.
Well,
if you want to limit your educational experience, I could say stop at Victory.
Hey, we have Alan Gatlin. He does a fantastic job with our education program.
One educator does not make Freemasonry, sir.
I mean,
not make Masonry.
There was apparently a question I missed while you're looking for that. Daniel Dietrich. Is there a need for something? Dietrich? Sorry, Daniel.
Dietrich.
Is there a need for something similar to the Texas Open Act to be adopted for the trustee meetings?
That's a very good question. I like that question.
Apparently some things are happening that aren't really in the trustees meetings. Like some decisions are being made without everybody being there. But yeah.
I know that's going to be a topic of discussion going forward. I mean, that's there should be. I had to do it to become a member of the oh my gosh. I'm too tired. Never mind. To serve any office in the city, you have to go through a class that teaches the Open Meetings Act, just so you can be a member, because you have to understand those rules so you don't break them and make the city liable for anything that you do.
I see. Interesting. Did you find what you're looking for?
No, what was that movie against Prohibition? Can any of y'all help me out? That movie about the guys that got
it was
together.
Lawless, Dennis.
No,
Lawless.
not that one. No, not that one. I love that one, but that's not the one. It's the older one with Kevin Costner and
Waterworld
and
the Highwayman.
Okay. The what?
The Highwayman. Is that what that was?
No, that was a good one too.
It
was the one with. Hey,
Dances with Wolves.
Dan knows. Stop it, guys.
Braveheart.
Dan knows this one.
Braveheart.
Just shut up. Dan knows this one. Dan Dietrich, you know this one. This one is the one that had all the police officers that got together during Prohibition and fought Al Capone, took down Al Capone. Which movie is that? I know you know what I'm talking about. It's an awesome movie.
Dan.
Oh my goodness. Anyways,
The Untouchables.
The Untouchables, yeah.
The Untouchables, that's it.
You
Thank
can
God for
remember
internet.
that?
So I love at the end of The Untouchables, and this is so indicative of exactly how it should have been. You know, when the Prohibition was over, and they asked the lead police officer, "What are you going to do?" And he just turns around and says, "I think I'll go have a beer." You know, he fought it the whole time, He fought all the guys that were selling the alcohol and all that kind of stuff. But as soon as it was legal, it's like, I think I'll go have a beer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing, is that, we need to uphold whatever laws we have right now, but we do need to change them to where we can uh, conduct ourselves appropriately and be the men that we're supposed to be.
Agreed.
If you have a law against every moral and ethical thing that there is out there, right? Then what makes you moral and ethical? If there's a law that you can be prosecuted over it with, I mean, it just takes away the truth and sincerity behind that that stance that you're sitting on,
Are
saying
you
that you're
really
ethical and
Are you really a good man, or are you just a good Mason because you followed the law book? Besides, that's twice as thick as the Bible.
exactly.
I like it.
I'd like to say hello to Josh Kovar, who made it on our Zoom tonight, who is one of our newer Inner Circle members of Masonic Improvement.
Oh, he hopped on. I didn't see that. Congratulations. Welcome, Josh. Glad to have you, man. Sorry.
Thanks, guys.
I didn't have my participant window open.
Hey, that's all right. Dennis sent me the link late, so I blame him.
Classic. Glad to have you, though.
Well, you did wait until the last minute to join. You said you had your money in your hand last night while we were enjoying everybody's company, and then you waited until right before the show to sign up. Typical Mason.
Well, you did
wait.
send me the link 5 minutes before you started, so let's just go with that.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll go with that.
That's that might be plausible. I will not confirm nor deny.
Well, let's hear some final thoughts and start wrapping this up. What do you got, Dennis?
You go first.
It's kind of hard since we try to let. Usually you and I are talking, and I have things I just want to say that I get out, but we kind of try to let other people facilitate it more. I will say this. Show up in 2 weeks for Grand Lodge if you can. It doesn't matter if you're a past master or not. We can't be we have to demonstrate that we are not a quiet minority, right? We need to show up as a vocal majority. They need to be nervous. The people that are behind the scenes, running our Grand Lodge into the ground, need to be nervous, and there needs to be enough showing, and it needs to be record numbers. We need to get that, and so that's one of the big things I would say. And then we need to. I mean, hopefully we get the changes we need, and then we need to unite and come together and push this Grand Lodge forward. And these other Grand Lodges that are watching us, that are writing their blogs and they're making their podcast about the drama coming out of Texas, they need to all be like, yeah, that's what happens when you mess with Texas. I mean, that they need to the content coming out after that needs to be like, yeah, Texas did not take it, and it needs to be not just a warning to other Grand Lodges that may have the same issues going on and showing the membership what they're capable, but it also needs to be a warning to anybody in this Grand Lodge that wants to try and run things behind the scenes with a few people, whoever that may be. Those are my final thoughts. Oh, also we've had a lot of brand new members. I want to thank all of you for coming on and helping to support the show. I am sincerely humbled by the new membership we have, and for those that don't know or that might have been on the fence, I mean that Inner Circle membership helps to support the show, helps to pay the bills, but it also helps to get you access to our ad-free videos. It gets you access to the Inner Circle Facebook group. It gets you access to these live events like the dinner we're going to be hosting in 2 weeks during Grand Lodge, and we're also going to be doing a summer workshop. Details will be coming out on that in a few months. So we're doing a summer workshop somewhere in Texas where we're all going to meet up, probably at a state park, and you'll see where that comes from. But it's all inner circle. So it's just us providing value back to y'all, and gratitude for y'all supporting us. And so, like I said, I really appreciate the new members, and look forward to continuing to grow that inner circle, and doing more things with y'all. Dennis?
Oh, I was going to let our guests go first.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add? All right. Dennis?
Okay. So, a couple things. Number one, I'd like to say, don't forget, if you are a new Inner Circle member, and Inner Circle members are the ones with the paid memberships, and that I think Justin just went over that. But just to be clear, it's not just a subscriber, but an actual paid membership to the show, to our broadcasting efforts, because that's going to pay for website and all that kind of good stuff. But anyways, if you are the Inner Circle member, you need to message us and tell us your email, or you will not get an invitation to the members only Masonic Improvement members only Inner Circle dinner Thursday night.
That's a mouthful.
Number one, if you do not do that, ask, seek, knock. We do that as Masons. If you do not do that, you will not get that invitation, and you won't have a seat at the table, because we only have so many seats. And so if you don't RSVP with me, you won't be getting in. And this is a closed door session. This isn't just having dinner at a restaurant. This is closed door so that we can discuss what we want to discuss in the privacy of our own room, and then go out into the world and share Freemasonry. Mm-hmm. So that being said, that night, that Thursday night, at 5:00, we're telling everyone to go to the Carlton Newberry Hospitality Suite over at the Hilton in downtown, the downtown Hilton in Waco, for a meet and greet with our Grand Treasurer and Grand Secretary, Right Worshipful Rick Townsend and Right Worshipful Justin Duty. And they're going to be doing that from 5 to 7. So our dinner, we're telling everybody to get to the bar at 6:30, and then we're going to go into our room at 7. And once we close the doors, I do not like to open doors, because I don't want anybody on the outside hearing anything that we discuss. Mm-hmm. And I don't like interruptions for our speaker. Our guest speaker is going to be Craig Enderly. And then after that, we have the room until 10:00. So from 7 to 10, we have dinner. And then we will head over to Barnett's Whiskey Bar, where Roberto Sanchez will be giving a presentation as well. And it's an excellent presentation that was given at one of the festive boards this past year, and in Houston, and everybody loved it. And he's going to give that same one at the Barnett's Whiskey Bar, which I will be there because I like scotch. After that, everybody's going to go back over to Carlton Newberry's Hospitality Suite, and just have some good fellowship, talk Freemasonry, get to know your brothers. That's what it's all about. This is the good stuff. We all just sit and have a drink, talk to our brothers about anything and everything we feel like talking about. And then later on, us old guys, we kind of leave the area and go and discuss our own little revolutions, and then let all the young guys stay up and have their fun. But either way, it's a great time, and it's a great night for Masonry. It truly is. And then, of course, Friday, we don't want to take it too late, because Friday, first thing in the morning, we are starting the session. Mm-hmm. Session is extremely important. You do not want to be foggy. You want to be ready. And you want to be ready for my true and trusted friends. When they hit the floor, you're going to know they're my true and trusted friends. And so Friday is a big day. And after Friday night, everybody gets to blow off steam at the Backyard Bar and Grill. That is a staple of Waco Freemasonry. And this year we're going to have Brother Huggins. His band is going to be playing. And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter how young or how old you are. Everybody gets together at the Backyard Bar and Grill to have libations and enjoy enjoy the fellowship and enjoy the music. It's always a good time there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. The important thing I wanted to let you, now that the housekeeping's over, the important thing that I wanted people to walk away with tonight that was really important to me is that I joke with Justin about being a millennial all the time, and I mess with Jason about being a dull, secretary with his spreadsheets and all. But I love these brothers to death. And we had another brother come on that I love to death as well. And that's Gordon Scheibel. And he's gone now. He's our happy heretic of our area in San Antonio. He's an Episcopal priest and one of my very favorite Masons, and he belongs to several of the groups that I'm in, and we learn together, we eat together, and we Masonry together. And so he is a perfect representation of a over 70-year-old man, brother, who is concerned about what other over 70-year-old men are doing in our fraternity. And he's saying it's not okay. All this time he's waited. He's finally shown up on the show to just be a part of it and to show that he's part of this and that he thinks it's not okay for us to keep doing things status quo, right? And then I'd also like to greet Josh Kobar, who is the senior warden of Goliad 94. So I'm not the only one who has to brag on Goliad 94 anymore. But y'all have heard me brag several times that, this year we have the perfect team at Goliad. We have brothers that have been going through officer leadership training throughout the years and has now hit all the sessions. And we have real succession planning going on in our lodge. And it has never been more healthy, never been more active, and never been more fun. And that's all because of these guys coming in. Josh, I love you, and I'm glad that you're our senior warden, and I'm ecstatic that we have a plan going forward. I am truly grateful for all that Chris, yourself, and Cope do, as well as all the brothers of our lodge, because if it wasn't for you guys, Goliad would not be as special. That's for sure.
Well, so thank you, Dennis, for those kind words. But Justin, you may agree with me on this. As I may have screwed up and asked Dennis to have a presentation at one of our meetings, so that meeting might last 3-4 hours. I don't know how the brothers are going to feel about that.
Well, bless your heart.
Well, I felt sorry for him. You know how it goes.
Yes, that old guy in the corner. Yeah. That's funny. That is so funny.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it.
Yeah, y'all are doing great. I'm extremely proud of you guys. Y'all are representing Goliad 94 very well, and I couldn't be more happy for what our lodge is doing right now.
Papa Chubb, are you saying is that Texas only or out-of-state Masons? Are you talking about the dinner? Or if you're talking about, I don't even know if you're still in the chat. If you're talking about the inner circle dinner, that's open to all Masons, really anybody that's in the inner circle. But you have to, here I'll post a link to it. But you have to be a member through YouTube. So if that's what you're asking about, I'll show that link. Speaking of members,
we need to post a link for them to go to the messenger also and give us their email.
Yes, I'll do that also. 1 second. Inner circle. Dang, I lost my train of thought now. Oh well. There's a link if that's what you're asking about. But yeah, as far as like if you are inner circle, if you want an invitation, I mentioned this earlier, but I'll go ahead and say it again. You need to. Do you want them to email you still, or send it to you on Messenger?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. What?
they need to send their email to our messenger so I can get it. Have you been giving them my email directly?
You told me to. Yeah. So that's what I did. Have you not been checking it?
Well, yeah, I always check my email.
Okay.
I thought all these people already had my email. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So that's
you said use
that's
my email. I
fine.
don't care. So that's what I did. You reach out either use the email that's provided on the members only section. For
Well,
YouTube.
use the email. Use the email in the members only section.
Okay.
That's the way.
On the members only section, Dennis's email is on there. So if you just want to be sure that you have a seat reserved for yourself, then be sure that you reach out to Dennis. And like I said, it's reserved. This is for Inner Circle members only through the link.
Yeah, no wives or anything like that. It's just the men. Yeah.
Yep.
And also, it is limited. I could have up to 240 people in this room if I wanted to, but I'm limiting it to 40 because we cannot have a meaningful conversation with more than that. So I'm limiting it so that we have a good discussion after the presentation.
40 people in that room.
No, it's not that room. They have a new one.
They got a new room? Okay. How do they have it? Okay. I would look forward to seeing that then. Yeah,
In fact, I was thinking about asking them just to put me back in the Bordeaux room so that, it is a 40 member room.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that coziness, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll talk to her
reach
about
out
it.
as soon as possible and be sure.
But either way, I'm limiting it for sure.
Yeah. So cool. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming on this evening. It's been really good. You got anything else? It's been long.
Keep it between the points, brothers.
Keep it between the points. See y'all later.
No.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Take care. Love you guys.